Namaste viewers, welcome to Gnana channel. In this episode, we will go and then to the sutra. We will try to understand the sutra number 8. The sutra from Patanjali Yoga Sutras, from the Vibhuti Pada, it goes like this. Vyutthāna Nirodha Saṁskārayoḥ Abhibhava Prādurbhāvau Nirodha Kshana Chittānvayo Nirodha Parinamaha. Let us try to understand this sutra in detail. But before we go to the details, I request you to please like, share and then subscribe to my channel. Please post your comments after having gone through the video talk completely without skipping. Please post your comments. Now, we'll go by word meaning. Then we'll just try to consolidate the meaning and then try to understand it. Vyutthana. Vyutthana means which is rising, expression. This is activity outside the mind. Outward activities of the mind. Then emergence of impressions, like whatever memory and things like that. That is Vyutthana. Nirodha. Things that are happening in the mind, that suppressing that, restraint on those things, cessation of the activity of the mind. Vyutthana Nirodha. Saṁskārayoḥ. Vyutthana Nirodha. About what? Saṁskārayoḥ. Saṁskārayoḥ means mental or emotional impressions, tendencies, of the impressions. Saṁskārayoḥ. Abhibhava. Abhibhava means disappearance, suppression, subduing. Abhibhava. Prādurbhāvau. Prādurbhāvau means it is appearing or manifestation, reappearing. Prādurbhāvau. Nirodha, again restraint, suppression. Kshana, momentary, instant, split second. Kshana chitta, mento emotional energy, mind plus emotions together. Kshana chitta. Anvayaha. Anvayaha means getting close together or connecting together or association. Nirodha Parinamaha. The transformation, Parinama, that is Parinama of the mind due to restraint. This is the word by word meaning. Now let us try to put it in a proper sentence so that we will be able to understand in English. When the mind, that is chitta, connects to that split second kshana of restraint, nirodha. Only split second there will be some kind of a connecting. During the alternating phases of manifestation, Prādurbhāva and suppression, Abhibhava of impressions. That is called as Nirodha Parinama, the transformation of the mind towards restraint. So now, what the sutra is saying is Prādurbhāva, Abhibhava, alternating phases of manifestation. During this stage, the chitta connects to that split second restraint. The restraint is not complete, it is only a split second, but the mind connects to that. That is called as Nirodha Parinama, the transformation of the mind towards restraint. Now, Patanjali here describes a very, very sukshma, very subtle, very minute yogic process. Normally, our mind runs in cycles. That is, thoughts arising that is Prādurbhāva. Then thoughts, Abhibhava, that is subduing, subsiding. It's like a wave, rising, lowering, rising, lowering, rising, lowering. Prādurbhāva is rising. Abhibhava is coming down. So, Patanjali describes that between one thought going and the next thought coming. So now, there is a thought. You are thinking of a car. Then immediately you think of a motorbike. But there is some gap between the thought of a motorbike and thought of a car. Before going to the motorbike, your thinking is on car, and the car, between car and the motorbike, there is a tiny gap. Kshana. Very tiny gap. It immediately comes, but there is a tiny gap. This is almost invisible in ordinary life. He says because this you cannot immediately recognize it, because the thoughts are flowing like continuously. They move very quickly. Now, Patanjali says a yogi through practice becomes aware of the moment of blankness. Blank. The mind becomes blank between these two thoughts. There's a very small gap. So the thoughts come continuously to the mind. I have to go here, I have to come here, I have to do perform. See, okay, you are cooking. While cooking, you will say, oh, I have to cook, I have to bring rice, I have to soak it, then I have to but all those things, the thoughts are all continuous. But Patanjali says there is a small moment there of blankness. While shifting from one thought to the another thought, there is some blankness. So he says yogi through practice becomes aware of this moment of blankness. He becomes, oh, that is the moment where I am. He is aware of that moment. If the yogi can rest the mind, stop that mind there, at that point of blankness, at that point, at that minute kshana, where there is a shift from one thought to the another thought. If you can rest the mind there, even for a little longer, that kshana, you expand it to a longer time. The mind enters into a deep stillness. That is where, see how practical he has analyzed the mind sciences. It is beautifully, it is mental analysis he has made. Between one thought and another thought, there is a small kshana, there is a small gap, very minute, tiny gap. You try to expand that tiny gap. You try to expand that tiny gap of time to a longer period. There he says the mind will take rest. This prolongation of the gap, this elastic, pulling it of this gap is called Nirodha Parinama. The transformation of the mind into a restrained, quiet state. This is what is Nirodha Parinama. Here he describes in this thing. It is like mind emotion interchange. Patanjali reminds us that mental energy and emotional energy are interconnected. Sometimes emotions drive thoughts. Sometimes thoughts create emotions. But in meditation, both pause together for a fraction of a second, for a very minute second. Nirodha Kshana, that is moment of restraint. That split second blankness between thought is the doorway to higher meditation and Samadhi. Next is prolonging the gap. Pulling it like a rubber band. Beginners experience it for a fraction of a second. With practice, yoga yogis or sadhakas extend it to seconds, minutes, and even hours. That is what leads to samadhi. Very clearly, he describes everything. Very he's just splitting everything and then putting it in the to us in a very neat way. So, imagination versus vision. Normally, imagination creates new thoughts. When one fades, one is coming down, another thought comes. Then another thought, then another thought. But in deep meditation, instead of imagination, a higher vision, that is called as darshana, can appear. That is the yogi's insight into that truth. So now you can think of this Krishna-Arjuna connection. The commentary recalls how Arjuna was granted divine vision at Kurukshetra by Krishna. That was possible because Krishna gave him a glimpse into this very state, but it was not a permanent achievement for Arjuna. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is how Arjuna was granted divine vision during the war, when Lord Krishna was advising Gita, but Bhagavad Gita there. Chintanam cha nivrittihi cha tayoho madhye shunyaha kshanaha asti. Every thought rises and ceases. Between them there is a moment of blankness. Nirodha tasmin kshane dridhikritaha chet samadhi sambhavati. Nirodha tasmin kshane nirodha dridhikritaha chet samadhi sambhavati. If that moment of restraint is held firmly, samadhi arises. Saṁskārayoḥ Abhivhyaktihi cha layaha cha chittasya khela iva. The rising and subsiding of impressions are like they are the play of the mind. So this is how it is. Now, what does this? What message it gives it to the modern students? For the young learners, this sutra is very practical. When you study, distractions, Vyutthana will come. Thoughts, they keep on arising. With effort, you restrain, that is Nirodha them, and bring attention back. If you learn to notice the gap between two distractions and rest in it, your focus grows immensely. That's all. For example, you're sitting like this. Something comes from kitchen. You are always tempted to go and then taste it. And something else also, your friend or somebody, you remember immediately your friend and then asking you to come for a film, something like that. Between these two thoughts, there is some gap. Whichever may be the first, that gap you increase it, that is where your focus grows immensely. That is the where you can focus it on your studies or whatever you want to, that is that. Over a period of time, this becomes a mental power. You can silence distractions faster, focus deeper, and for a longer time. Between the thought and the next, there is peace. Learn to stay there. This is what this sutra says. Viewers, with this explanation on this sutra, we conclude this episode. I hope this was quite interesting. Please like, share, and then subscribe to my channel. Please go through the video content, video talk completely, and then after having gone through the complete content, I request you to please post your comments in the comment box. Thank you.